Hey, hey, Blue Table fans! We're in an echoey conference room, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to make a Warhammer Fantasy army. Like, how do you organize it? What is it going to look like? Let me get a little closer to the board here. Let's try this. Okay, so here we go. All right. Pens, fantastic. Okay, so here's the deal. The number one question you got to ask yourself when you're making an army is, how does this army win? What's the basic strategy? Well, that may vary from army to army, and it may be that may be informed by what army you're choosing to play. For example, with vampire counts, you pin the opponent with tar pit type troops, and then you hit them with the heavy hitters. So that would be an example of how an army works. For example, with Warriors of Chaos, you go forward and bash their face in with almighty Chaos Warriors while blasting them with spells and arcane war machines. So that's something. So, but I usually like to look at it as deployment. So let's say this is your edge of the board. And I think, how is my army going to look when it's on the board? Hold on, let's take a look at this. Yeah, I can actually get a little bit closer. There we go. Fantastic. So you'll be able to see what it is that I'm seeing. Okay, or what it is that I'm writing. So typically, for an army, you want to be composed of big blocks. So let's call them big blocks. That looks kind of like a face, big old square smile and spectacles. So you want two big blocks, and you also want what I call heavy hitters. So where do the heavy hitters go? The heavy hitters can support your troops, or they can actually go on the flank as what I call troubleshooters. So we're gonna put trouble out here. So you can have troubleshooters and troublemakers, and you can also have, I'm going to call it support. So that's your war machine. So here's let's say 2 stone throwers, right, with the crew on here. So there's that. Big blocks, so you need big blocks. You know what, let's get rid of support here. Let's call this artillery. Okay, so so you also need what I call support. So that's something to make these guys' job easier. So it could be to actually defend them, like the countercharge ability for Empire, or it could be to thin up the enemy ranks as the enemy approaches. For example, Skaven war machines. So you need some support units, and that could very well be your heavy hitters. So we'll just put these here and here. So typically, if you got your big blocks and you got a couple heavy hitters and or support units, that really is the core of your army. You just have to pick what it is that you're gonna get, because everything kind of has. They've made Warhammer Fantasy a very complicated game of rock, paper, scissors. So every type of unit has a question that it's asking, and it has an answer. So for example, for massed ranks, so for your big blocks, typically you're going to want 30 to 50 guys, right? So the question is, how are you going to deal with this? Because giant units of guys really are very strong, not overly strong, but they are the backbone of 8th edition. And so how are you going to deal with those? Well, your big monsters, your heavy hitters, usually can't deal with those head on. They can't just charge up, and that's because of steadfast. That they're going to charge up, and then it'll be like, well, even if, let's say, monsters typically might have 6 attacks, well, guess what? 3 are going to miss, and then 1 might not wound. And so you're only going to kill 2 or 3 guys a turn. Well, you're not going to get through 30 to 50 guys very fast that way when they're steadfast. So you've got to counter these big blocks. So what's the counter to big blocks? I'm going to bring that up top here. The counter to big blocks is template weapons. So that's where your artillery. So this artillery answers a question up here. So, but templates and also flank charges, but they don't make the flank charge too easy. In fact, flank, let's put disruption. That means they don't get their rank bonuses anymore, or they're not steadfast anymore. And so this isn't easy anymore. You notice there's no cavalry on here, because right now I'm like, what is cavalry's role? And here's the problem with cavalry, is that in order to get disruption, you've got to have 2 ranks. So it's got to look like that, 10 cavalry. And if they take 1 casualty, guess what? No more disruption for flank. I'm not saying cavalry's not good. They certainly can be, but it's hard to get that. So you think, okay, well, cavalry, oh, I'm going to bust through the line. Well, maybe these guys weren't meant to do this. But the question is, what is cavalry doing? Do they really move around on the flank? Yes, they move quite fast. The other thing would be, well, what if you just added a 3rd rank? Well, the problem there is, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a problem, but by the time you get a cavalry block that's 15 guys, cavalry typically costs twice as much as infantry. You could have had 30 infantry for that amount. And it's just, it is a toughie. So support could be a smaller unit, or it could be a heavy hitter. I recommend heavy hitters. Heavy hitters are, I'm thinking about monsters here. But they could also be monstrous cavalry. Support for any unit can take the form of heroes. Let's not forget heroes. So heroes can take the role of actually adding killing power. So you put them in the corners of your units or in the center of your units here. Wizards are effectively a support role. They're a buffing. So in fact, let's call those guys. Let's call them buffers. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, so your buffers are ones that make your units better. So like, you have to think, okay, well, every guy in the unit gets +1 toughness. Well, if you cast that on a big unit, that's great. That's a lot of guys with extra toughness. Cast it on a monster, well, only that one thing has extra toughness. That could be good, but so when you're making an army, typically you would do your 2 big blocks, your heavy hitters or support here, some artillery, and some heroes. And basically, that's an army. Let's make a few. Let's just throw a few armies together, like right off the top of my head. Oh, I forgot to talk about troublemakers. You've got to have stuff on the flanks in order to counter what your opponent. There's 2 games going on in Warhammer Fantasy. There's a game of what's in the middle, and there's a game of what's going on the sides. So the counter to artillery is quick moving, like fast cavalry, flyers, because artillery can't take being hit very hard. And some people are like, well, I'll just put a big block, and they think defensively. They're like, well, I'll just put a big old block of guys there. Well, that's too many points to invest. What is the least amount of points I can put in and take out that artillery? So, for example, in my game with Josh the other day, the vampire counts. By the way, my button, we went to Del Taco. It's not a button, it's a sticker. We went to Del Taco, and it says caution hot filling. So, anyway, in case you're wondering what that was. Okay, so, but that's too much of an investment to protect those. So what you want to do, be aggressive. It's like StarCraft 2. If you just turtle up in your base, you're going to lose that game because it's been designed to where you have to get out there and engage in some harassment. And if you can get into your opponent's base and start taking out their buildings and take out some economy there, then that works better. So have your own offense on the sides. And that is your fast cav. That's your flyers. These are your troublemakers. These guys are asking a question. I just moved 20 dire wolves up the flank. What are you going to do about it? Now you've seen my dire wolves explode. Well, guess what? My opponent had an answer for that. He said, my answer to what am I going to do about it is I am going to blow them up with my wizards. So wizards are really critical because they can answer lots of different questions. Of course, their spells are random, which is something I really don't like about Warhammer Fantasy, but it's written in as part of the game. So let's actually make a few armies right now, right on the spot, and I'll show you how this works. So let's get my deployment zone up there again. Isn't this exciting to watch me write on a whiteboard? The answer is no. Okay, so let's do. Did I say Skaven? I'm going to start with Empire. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for the Studio Empire army. So here's what I'm going to have. I'm going to have swordsmen. I'm going to have great swords. I don't know if you can read this or not, so I'm sorry. So I'll just put an S or and a G there. Ah, that's my name. Okay, and then I'm going to have detachments. Somebody recommended handgunners, and I'm kind of tempted to do that instead. So I'm going to have them on the flank. These are detachments. So we'll put HG for handgunners. HG for handgunners. Now the other thing would be I could just do regular. I could do like halberdiers here. And by the way, I love swordsmen. Halberdiers seem to be kind of like the thing, but I don't know. I'm starting to love them. Oh, and by the way, whoever picked up the Oriental Empire army, good for you, because that army is rocking now. That thing is fantastic. All right, so the other thing is you can move your handgunners up onto hills and make them part of your range support. Your artillery, so to speak. Of course, artillery is more like rock lobbers and stuff like that. So, so there you go. How many points do we have here? Swordsmen, 40. They're going to be about 300 points. So let's put 300 up here. And the great swords at 11 times 30 plus command, we're going to put 350 there. And the handgunners, 10 times 9 is 90. 90. So how are we doing? We've got 400, 500, we've got about 850 points there. So we're doing good. We're almost halfway there just with this. Of course, this is a lot of painting too. And that's another thing. That's what we're here for, is the paint. One way or another, when you get into this hobby, you're going to make an investment. It's going to cost something. So it's either going to cost your time or it's going to cost your money, one of the two. And what we're trying to do is make the money more palatable than actually sitting down and painting up 40 swordsmen. So, and by the way, there are tons of games, and I do recommend them. There are tons of games that require less of a model count, where 20 guys, that's an army. And they're fantastic, but I gotta tell you, I can't let go of Warhammer Fantasy. There's a pageantry to it. There's just something about all these great figures on the board, and they just look so striking when they're done. Okay, so what else am I going to do? I'm going to have some artillery down here. I'm going to have a mortar. I'm going to have another mortar. I might go great cannon too. You'd have to get that on a hill though, because you need a line of sight. The problem you can run into it, will your army extend and block these other things? And that's a problem you can have if you put your war machines up here in the front. As your guys move forward, they start blocking the line of fire. And you end up basically with war machines that can't do anything. They need kind of more of a commanding presence. Okay, I'm going to get Hurricanum, put H here, and a Luminarch, L there, and that's 120 and 130. So, so right now I am at about 1100. Now we need some support. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a BSB. So we'll just put H's here for heroes. I'm going to get a BSB. Let's put that over here on the side. BSB, that's Battle Standard Bearer, by the way. You will need a general. I'll put G for general. And I'm going to get a wizard level 4 and a wizard level 2. By the way, this doesn't matter. You just get 2 wizard models. You can call them whatever level you want. It's a beauty of them. And so I'm going to have a hero here. I'll probably have a hero here. These are our two. So this will like spread the banner goodness, and this will spread the general's leadership goodness. Great swords are stubborn, so they probably don't need the general to be in there because generals now have hold the line, which gives them best 2 out of 3 dice for leadership tests. So you probably want him in with your state troops, swordsmen in my case rather, and then wizards. So your wizards, handgunners are really a good place for the wizards to be. They have, so we'll put W for wizard. We'll put W for wizard here. So by the way, this is just one of lots of ways you could do it. I'm sure there's better ways. I'm sure all the Empire players out there can tell me how better to do this. But the way from where I'm sitting, this is a pretty solid setup here. And what else? I don't have my own troublemaker. So instead of putting a defensive line on my war machines, I'm going to actually have my own stuff moving out and asking their own questions. What are the problems? So I'm going to have, I'm going to have pistoliers. So let's make a block of pistoliers. I'll put, I have 12 already painted up. So I'm going to have those either in a unit of 6, or 1 unit of 12. Quite frankly, I think the pistoliers are to shoot things, take care of little goblin fanatics, whatever it is. But 6 times, yeah, you'll put about 120 points into that unit, and that's pretty big for a throwaway unit. Ooh, that is another role that I forgot to put on my master thing, is throwaway units. What I would call distractions, like you're just putting them out there. They move fast, deal with them. A lesser opponent will get distracted. They'll turn around like a whole block of guys to face that. And you're just like, oh my gosh, you just turned around a 300, 400 point unit to deal with a 35 point unit. It's awesome. So that's another thing to look at in an army book, not where are the heavy hitters? Oh no. It's what's the cheap stuff? What's in core that's cheap? Like in Beastmen, Ungor Raiders are like 5 points each. They're 6 points each, and they can be in units of 5. Oh, so 30 points. You just take a ton of them and just have them run around and create problems. Clang, clang. Make a big distraction of themselves. So pistoliers, that is 240. So we are actually at 1340. Let's go back to our heroes. General. I just put like numbers up because they can have variable amounts of magic items. You can make them higher or lower level. I don't have the book in front of me, so I'm just throw out some numbers. 150 for my general. I'm going to say 100 for my BSB. Wizard level 4 with magic, I'm going to call 200. And wizard level 2, I'm going to call 150. Let's load them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 600 points. Guess what? I just hit 2,000 points with this. Oh, never mind the mortars. So mortars are probably another 200 at least. So and let's do a steam tank. 300. So guess what? This army, 2,500 points. You have a solid core, and you've got trouble. You've got trouble on the sides, and you got trouble in the back. So what questions is this army posing? How are you going to crack this nut right here? That's the big one. How are you going to deal with this hole that I'm like holding the line? And guess what? I'll be shooting you with the steam tank, the mortars, the pistoliers, and the handgunners every turn. That is an important question to ask yourself as you're deploying in any game of Warhammer Fantasy. Can I outshoot my opponent? Why should I move forward? How eager should I be to engage, to move my whole line forward and engage? The answer, not very. So with this, never mind the Luminarch shoots too. And you might have wizards. Wizards can be shooting as well. So you have to just look at the lores. The great thing about Empires, they can take any of the 8 lores, and oh wow, you have a lot of options there. It makes me happy. So, yeah, wizards, whatever. Now, a lot of people talk to me, ask me about cost. In fact, today we went to a meeting with a business up in Orem, and they make software to basically run companies. And right now, we typically have over 150 projects going at the same time, right? You wouldn't guess that. It feels like, you know, we only have very few. And by the way, we work very hard at that, which is we want to have sort of that personal connection. But we think that by running things more smoothly, we'll be able to spend more time with clients. So, that said, where was I going with that? Oh, and because they were pretty reticent to tell us the costs, and I like to know what the numbers are. So anyway, boy, that was, why did I say all that? All right, we'll see if I edit that out. So typically an army costs per point 50 cents to $1 per point. Whoops, I did that wrong. It should be 0.50. To $1 per point. So a 2,000 point army is typically $1,000 to $2,000. That's if we do everything. And that's scratch. That's scratch, all custom. If you give us some rain, we can get that down to, I guess the lowest ever really is 25 cents a point, which would be 500 for a 2,000 point army. And that's very seldom. 50 cents is really low. But armies that are infantry intensive can go above that. It just depends on what's in the army. Plus conversions and stuff, extras. You can upgrade your painting level, the whole thing. So, and by the way, anytime I talk about money on this channel, that information can be dated later on down the line, because I leave these videos up for a really long time. Okay, so anyway, so that's typically it for a Warhammer Fantasy army. You are looking at somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000. We do turbo armies, and it can be more. Like the vampire. Well, no, that depends on points too. Vampire Count's army, I do believe, is busting 4,000 now. Yeah, it makes me happy just to have it and play. Okay, so let's do another army, shall we? Well, isn't this fun? Let's do a Skaven army. Ooh, Skaven! They have so many awesome things. In fact, I'm going to go grab the Skaven book. And by the way, the Skaven book is still very, very strong. It came out just before 8th edition, so it's kind of getting the best of both worlds. Alright, so here we go. Skavenius. Okay, so here's your deployment zone. Wow, Skaven, by the way, get ready to paint a lot of models. Fortunately, they came out with Isle of Blood, which I think is $100 for the kit, and you get 60 Skaven in it, plus you get other stuff too. You get Skaven characters, rat ogres in it, and then you get high elves, so you can trade or sell those off. You can find them pretty cheap. We also have, for Skaven, we are currently running our 60 plus special. So that's if you have 60 or more Skaven infantry, painted level 2, that's our basic level. By the way, level 2 is still pretty good. They're $3 per model to paint those. So again, information might be dated if you're watching this video and it's more than a couple months old. Okay, so let's start with our core, with our clan rats, our clan ratios. By the way, that Empire army might have a problem. It might not have enough core units. The swordsman is only 350, and for a 2,500 point army, you need 625 points of core. So it might be at that level you'd need to get rid of the great swords and put in another basically unit. All right, Skaven. So pretty much with Yule Skaven, let me check my alignment here. Oh, look at that. Needs to be a lot closer. What happened there? There we go. That's better. Okay, so with Yule Skaven, you're going to need clan rats. Clan rats, and more clan rats. By the way, that makes Skaven a pretty good starter army. You got to do a lot of figures, but they are pretty straightforward. So core would be yeah, lots of clan rats, and you can throw in some Skaven slaves. So what I would do is I would do blocks of 40. So this is clan rats, clan rats, clan rats. 40, 40, 40, 140, 120 infantry. And so each unit's 160. You get a command in there. You've got 180. So where are we? We're at 540. So 540 points for you. So your core is almost done. Then you get your weapon upgrades. So here's where you paint 2 rats, and instead of 8 points each, they are 70 points each. So you get Isle of Blood has the mortar and the warp fire thrower, which are both very good options. So you need 2 Isle of Blood kits for this. So you get a weapon team, and a weapon team. And Storm Vermin can be core. Alright, so let's move on to special. There's really not much in the special section of Skaven that I like, but rat ogres could be a thing. So where's your roles here? You got your infantry, your blocks, your tar pits, your thing that actually wins you the game. A lot of times is your basic blocks of infantry, and you've got to have some heavy hitters. Let's throw some rat ogres in there. And if you bought 2 Isle of Blood sets, you'll have 4 rat ogres. So let's just go ahead and put those in on the side as a long block here. So we'll put RO for rat ogres. And that is 40 plus, so 160. Yeah, it's 160. So, oh, by the way, with the weapon teams here, you are at 750 points total. So you're doing good all the way up to 3,000 points for your core requirements there. Me, not a fan of the Jezzails. Plague monks are great, but really, let's just get the rats. And then now we go on to, and by the way, Skaven slaves. Those are questions. Like, what are you going to do about this Skaven slave unit that's just kind of running up the sidelines with high leadership due to strength in numbers? So let's put those as troublemakers or troubleshooters. So Skaven slaves. I'm writing this one out. I don't know why. And let's just make a unit of 20 of those. So there you go. That boosts up your core a little bit. So how are we doing on points? Guys, we have painted a lot of models, and we are just at about 900 points there. And so that really only leaves heroes. So heroes, same thing. Skaven are a mortal army, which means they take break tests. They can die just like everybody else. No instability, no demonic or undead movies going on. So basically, you've got Skaven, where was I? Oh yeah, so you do need heroes, so you need a BSB. So we'll just put H, they go in the corners. So we'll do the same thing, we'll do a general, we'll do a BSB. And your general is going to cost, I don't know, let's call it 150. Your BSB is probably going to cost you, let's see here, a chieftain. Oh yeah, that's not much, he's about 100, right? And you can pepper in a bunch of heroes here, but let's just do wizards. And so really, what we really want to do is we want to do a screaming bell. Yes, we do. And we want to just stick that right in one of these units of clan rats. Why the heck not? So we get a big old, we'll put bell up here. And by the way, that is, oh, and by the way, if some of you are like 1,000 to 2,000, there's no way I could do that. Well, guess what? You can look for deals. You can tell me what your budget is. I could probably, we have almost every day we have new armies coming in. And that's the beauty of the trade program. Because first off, you can take all your stuff, and it may just be random things you're not even using. You can trade them into us. Then you get a credit, so that ameliorates the cost. That can even be a deposit to get your army going. And it's new lamps for old. So, and we allow splitting of payments too. So you say, you know what? I get paid every 2 weeks, so I'm going to dedicate $200 every paycheck to my army. So Sean, here's my trade. Here's my 4 payments over 8 weeks. So just kind of schedule it so it gets done at the end of the 8-week mark. And we can do that. We have a lot of people that do that. So, and then you've got your army. 2 months later, you've got your army. It's done. Or pick up one like right off the bat. By the way, it might not hurt also to let me know if you have some money on hand. You just be like, you know what? I'm getting paid next week. I want to buy an army. Sean, this is how much you have to work with. What can you do? This is kind of what I'm interested in. So, because that is our reason for being, is to get you a painted army so you can be down at the shop playing with your friends and not trying to figure out, you know, whether to use super glue or plastic glue. Okay, so let us continue. So Grey Seer on Screaming Bell is going to be easily 500 points. So that's the thing with Skaven, is you have all these guys that are super cheap, and then you have things that are really expensive. And that's your level 4. So you got a Wizard 4. Let's get a Wizard 2. So Wizard 4 is this guy. A Wizard 2 would be a Plague Priest, I think. And by the way, a free one comes in the kit. If you make the bell, you have a Plague Priest in there because you didn't make the Plague Furnace. Plague. Let's make him 150, shall we? So how many points are we at? We were at 900, 1400. Add these guys up, you got another 400. You're at 1800 points already. And you've bought 2 Isle of Blood kits. You may have Skaven Slaves, I don't know where those are coming from. You got these out of Isle of Blood. You bought Heroes. You bought about 3 of them. So maybe you bought a kit of Skaven Warriors, a couple kits. And you bought 1 Screaming Bell kit. And by the way, your General and BSB, you can easily convert those along with the Pack Masters out of the Isle of Blood kit. So that's where Skaven is actually a good starter army, because even though you have to paint up 120 guys, it's a real Mr. Miyagi type of thing where you can get a lot of practice done. In fact, when new painters come here to BTP, they often start with the Skaven army. By the way, paint these Skaven, and we didn't even get to the good stuff. So where were we again? 914 to 1800. Let's get some rare in there. Now here's your troublemakers and your heavy hitters, i.e. monsters. So let us, we have to do Doom Wheels. The Doom Wheel is a giant question mark. How are you going to deal with this thing? It just rolls right up the flank. Awesome, and that's where it needs to be. So you stick the Doom Wheel. By the way, don't stick it next to your Rad Ogres because the lightning bolts might get them. So we'll just put this here. We'll put DW for Doom Wheel. And I would get 2. So Doom Wheel, DW. And you notice this has no artillery. Aha! The artillery in the Skaven army moves up with the clan rats. In fact, you'll have an extra. The Isle of Blood kits, the 2 that you bought, will actually have 4 between them. 4, what's that called? Auxiliary weapons or something like that. And also and by the way, the Doom Wheels are blah, 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 150 points each. So 150, 150, we're to 2100. Let's get a Hell Pit in there. Why not? And he is 235. So really, depending on how you configure it, you could ramp this up to 2500. You're definitely to 2250. This is a great Skaven army. I've been playing it and making it numerous times, like over and over and over again. And Skaven make me happy. This really is a good Skaven army. And you can alter, you can amend condiments to taste. Some people will be like, gutter runners, why didn't he put gutter runners in there? Great. Make some gutter runners. Do little nunchuck conversions on your Isle of Blood guys and call that a day. Let's talk Warriors of Chaos. Wars of Chaos. By the way, this video is going to be like an hour. Warriors of Chaos. Oh yeah. What a great army. So these guys are interesting because they don't really have any ranged stuff. There's no archers, there's no crossbowmen. There's no handgunners, there's no war machines in there except the Hell Cannon. Hell Cannon's awesome. So here we go. So there's your deployment. Warriors of Chaos also count for our 60 plus special. Oh, by the way, we do some 40k stuff too. Like we had 60 Tau Warriors. They're on there. $3 each to paint them level 2. But the instructions can't be too specific either. It can't be like, use these 10 colors in this order. No, that's not level 2. Okay, let's roll with Warriors of Chaos. Let's start with our big blocks. So, oh, and by the way, so why I'm so excited about this is if you did the 60 plus special, 60 Warriors of Chaos, where are they? Oh no, I'm like missing a whole page here. Yep, a whole page fell out of this book. Okay, I don't like that. Alright, well, I only have one Warriors of Chaos book, which is weird because I have manuals of all of them. And so I'll just have to kind of make it up off the fly. So you can do Marauders. I think they're like 5 points each. But that's really painting intensive. And yeah, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to have, so Warriors of Chaos, you can put them, this is a unit where they kill things so hard that you actually want them wider rather than to get the rank bonus. And like if you attack Warriors of Chaos in the flank, guess what? Those flank guys will probably kill more than it's worth. So Warriors of Chaos, usually I run them 6 wide, 6 to 7 wide. And tell me if I'm wrong. So 6 to 7 wide each. So you basically just do 20. You do 20. They cost, with command, it's about 20 points each. So just these 2 units, you're talking about 800 points. Yeah, just that. That's a third of a 2,500 point army. By the way, 2,500 is a good point level to play Warhammer Fantasy on. We do smaller. If you and your friends kind of starting up, or you're just trying to get your feet wet, go 1,500. By all means, just scale everything down, and it works. It worked great. The game plays really well at that level. But not as well as when it's like this giant thing. Josh was like, hey, let's play 3,000 points. I'm like, you know what, let's go down to 2,000 instead. Which, I don't know who that's going to favor. We both kind of have horde armies right now. So, okay. Now, these guys have weaknesses. It's right here in their flanks. And these guys are going to they've got no missile weapons, so you're going to have to move forward. So you have to be pretty aggressive out here on the sides with this type of army. But Warriors of Chaos are crazy. Initiative 5. They have 2 attacks each, strength 4, toughness 4. You give them halberds, you give them 2 hand weapons. These guys are crazy. They're fantastic. So again, with the 60 plus special, you could do this, and 1 other unit, maybe even some Chosen I would probably allow, because they're similar in their painting scheme. So, yeah, and they're great. Warriors of Chaos, the models. The models look good, and they're in the game, they're just absolutely fantastic. So anyway, you got a Hell Cannon, HC. I don't remember what. Oh, actually, I have that part of the book, right? So, oh no, here in the back, we've got all the different types of things. Okay, so core units, Chaos Warhounds. Oh yeah, those are a question. What are you going to do about this random unit moving up the side, threatening your light units? So those are great, but I am a fan of the, what is it? Chaos Marauder. Hold on, special. Chaos Knights are special, Chariots special. Where's the, yeah, Chaos Marauders. That's weird. Oh, okay, they're Chaos Marauder Horsemen. So we'll call them CMHs. I love me some CMHs. And they're probably 100 points for a light unit. In fact, I would take a bunch of them. I'd run them in units of 10. Because the models, the models are great. Chaos Knights, not too bad. We'll put CK on here. Get a bunch of them. Any unit can be good if you throw a character into it. You give them different magic items. You spellcasters work good on mounts in light, fast cavalry units because they can move around and stay out of trouble. But if they get shot at, they have like ablated wounds. You can also do what's called a bunker, where you take a cheap unit, whatever it is, and you stick your wizard in it, and that's all they do. They just kind of sit there back with him and absorb cannonballs and stuff like that. Cannonball eaters, you should call them. I'm a fan of the wizard on disc. So this is, if I were doing an army today, this is kind of what I would do. And so where are we? We're at 800. The held cannon is, where are you, held cannon? The held cannon's about 200, so we're at 1,000. 1,100, a wizard on disc can easily be 300, so that's your wizard 4, right? On disc, we'll make him 300 points. Your Chaos Knights can be easily, blah, 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 blah. They can be easy, let's just call them 150, that's probably on the cheap end. So you got 1,000, 1,600, 1,700, oh no, I'm counting this twice. Oh man, 1,400, 1,550. So what else are you going to put in your Warriors of Chaos army? Oh, and by the way, you can also do like, oh, by the way, my general is on a giant Chaos Dragon. Oh, that's fantastic. I would actually recommend the Dark Elf Sorceress Dragon. That kit is ridiculous. Fantastic. Where else? I wouldn't take Ogres. Wouldn't take Trolls. Wouldn't take a Chariot at this point. You really don't need that. Oh, Chaos War Shrine. Guy, am I an idiot or what? So that's the trouble. 2,500 points, 1/4 of your points, which is the max you can spend on rare, is 625. So that's what you, whoa, that's the awfulest 5 I've ever seen. So that's rare. God, I'm losing my ability to spell. So if you take out 2 Hell Cannons, you're at 410. And so you just take 1 Chaos War Shrine. Quite frankly, I would do, it just depends on, so how does your army win? Well, this army wins by moving up and smashing face. So the War Shrine actually is kind of the best thing, because if you don't have anything back here that is defenseless, then you don't need troubleshooters to kind of ward off these, you know, pesky fly units buzzing around you. And the Hell Cannon's different. The Hell Cannon is a giant monster. So you can't just run up and kill it. So I would actually do 2 War Shrines, and these are the role of a support unit. So we'll put WS, and this is kind of how I deploy them too. I get them up there. I wouldn't put it behind, but I put it up there with my Chaos Warriors. I get my hero, get my BSB and General here in the middle. They form like a bubble. So my Chaos Knights are like, guess what? If you don't deal with us, it's smashy smashy time for you. And maybe even get them 6 wide or put a hero in there. So basically, your heroes, you got your wizard, and we're just going to put heroes times 4. You just put a bunch of chaos heroes in there. 200 each on average will be 800. And you are probably still within your character allotment there. So what do we got? We have 1,000. The War Shrines are 130 each, so we'll call them 250 for those. So 1,250, 1,400 with the Knight, 1,500 with that, 1,100. This is a 2,500 point army right here. And that is what you got. You got 40 Chaos Knights, 5 heroes, including a wizard on disc, because the wizard just looks so cool flying around on that disc. You get some martial heroes in there. They can double for a lot of things. You get a BSB going. You have an answer. Chaos Marauder Horsemen are just too cool of models to pass up. Plus, they actually do something. These are a question. How do I get to that bolt thrower really fast? How do I deal with X, Y, and Z that's kind of off behind the lines? So the wizard on disc can do that too. So he's kind of a dual role. And this is not a bad army. It is, God, I'm getting myself inspired here. So Chaos Warriors, War Shrines to back them up. Chaos Knights is a support kind of heavy hitter unit. Hell Cannon to create a question, like now how are your guys gonna, are you just gonna let this run free and keep blasting away at stuff, or are you gonna come back and deal with it somehow? So you're creating product. Answer this, answer this, answer that. How are you going to deal with all of this? And so these are your rovers. And there you go. So that's Chaos Warriors. Should I do another one? Do you want to see another one? All right, we're going to get off the beaten track here. And we're going to do Beastmen. Let me make sure my focus is on focus. Yes, it is. Okay, great. So this is kind of what you're seeing up here. I don't know if maybe you're just seeing like the top of my head this entire video. Wouldn't that be sad? Okay, so Beastmen. So I'm playing Beastmen against you. You don't get to see my army. I'm pulling it up out of a bin from underneath the table. I'm very secretive about it. So you deploy a unit. Here's my deployment. I deploy a chariot right here, kind of off to the side in the middle. Maybe actually, I keep you guessing. I put my chariot right in the middle. So you deploy a unit, right? And then my turn again. I'll deploy a chariot. And then you deploy a unit. And then, okay, I'll deploy a chariot over here on this side. See a theme happening so far? You deploy 2 war machines. I deploy a chariot. You deploy a block of guys. I deploy a chariot. You deploy all your heroes. Right? Let's just say, just stick with me. I think you do war machines and heroes last. I don't know. So, and then you deploy your chariot, right? Because you have one. Okay, I deploy a chariot. And then you deploy a block of hand gunners or whatever, right? So 2, 4, 6, 7, I deploy a thing. You deploy one other thing. Okay, and so now you're done, right? Typically an army, actually 8 is kind of low amount for deployables. But 10, maybe, average. So you've deployed most of your army. Now I'm going to start deploying my... So I look and I say, on which half of the board... By the way, this is the Minotaur's army using the Beastmen list. That's what we're talking about here. This has long been kind of a dream army. I'm hoping, it'd be great that someone should commission this. We'll get it done really fast. Then you'll let us use it at Valhalla. It'll be featured in bat reps, or a bat rep at least. And of course, it could be like, oh yeah, our army's awful. Sorry I wasted your time. I don't think so. I think it'll be fun to play at the very least. I think it will be effective. So, oh, by the way, the Chariots will be Mornfang Cavalry with 2 Beastmen riders on it. So it'll be like a big something. We also thought of a Minotaur Centaur, kind of like a dragon ogre, but with a Minotaur's 4 limbs as the thing, as a Tuskor chariot. So that's what these are all Tuskor chariots. They're 80 points each, so you got 640. And you'll actually need to make more if you're going to take this to 3,000. You need to make 2 more chariots. If I'm right, yeah, that'd be 800 points. Yeah, that's right. We're doing good. And in that case, you'd be like, put it up, put it up. So now, which side am I going to deploy 2/3 of my army? Basically, so your opponent, in terms of points, your opponent will have put out in most of his army, at least 90%, 80 or 90%. But this is what's called loading the flank. And so now I put out a unit of Minotaurs. That's 6 Minotaurs. I'll put a big old M here for that. I put out a unit of Minotaurs. That's 6 Minotaurs. Oh, and they have heroes in them too, by the way. 1 here, which displaces a guy to the back rank, right? And then I put, all right, let's suppose this chariot's not here. Okay, and then I put, because I have a Minotaur Wizard, which by the way, I just take as a regular shaman. I man him on a 40. Most people would forgive that. If they didn't, you'd be like, oh, okay, fine. He joins this unit, he just kind of out to the side like that. That's how that would look with a 25mm base for a Bray Shaman, which is an infantry-sized guy. But I'm going to make, I want to make a Minotaur Shaman. So you have, what you have here is you have your General, which is a Doom Bowl or Taurox. He's 350. We're gonna call him 350. In fact, let me just double check, because I don't want to find out I did it completely wrong. Minotaurs. Oh, by the way, the Minotaur units are 350 points each, approximately. So yeah, Lord's Doom Bowl is 235 plus magic items and equipment. Can be 350. Taurox, who's insane, is 335. So I'm just going to call it 350. Just bear with me. Okay, you got a wizard. He's a level 4. And he is going to be 250 points, let's just say. Then we're going to take a couple of heroes. We're going to take 2. Oh, by the way, one of them's a BSV, and they cost, let's see, what are they? Because there's a Gore Bowl with magic is 200, so 400 for both. So, oh, and the Minotaur units, did I say 350? So there's 700. So, that's 1350, 1700, about 2020. You're at about 2500 with just this. Blam! But guess what? It gets better. We haven't even hit the rare choices. So the Gore, and this is why no matter what happens, this army is going to be fun because you're going to run around with giant, horrible killer machine monster things. Gorgons are 275 each, so we'll put these on the flank too. G. And by the way, these, even though I marked it here, these probably would all fit. And that's it. So you've got 1,500 points just basically loaded into a flank. And that's because the Minotaurs condense down those points and hitting power into little, very small areas. And the Gorgon model is out, which is Gorgus. It's also probably Gorgus. Wow, and I think I did all evil armies today except Empire. So maybe next time I'll do some good armies. Why don't you tell me what you'd like to see, and I'll do one of these for whatever it is, army. But I would love to do this. I think I calculated the retail value of these models, if you just bought the kits, at 500 to 600. So you get an online, or a retailer of any kind, discounting was usually 20% as a standard. If you try and get it for about 30% off, so that's about what, this is actually a very inexpensive army in terms of the money to get the models. It's would actually be inexpensive for painting too, assembly and painting compared to other forces, because there are only, I think, 27 models in this. 8, yeah, well, anyway. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed, you got some insight. Maybe you just kind of listened to this as your radio, and I really appreciate it. I'm always amazed and full of gratitude that so many people tune into our channel and have made our business such a success. And yeah, so thanks. Hey, just a quick video. We have something in trade stock that has come in. By the way, lots of exciting things coming. This is what we have today. This is Lord of the Rings stuff. And I really don't know what I am looking at here. There's some orcs and goblins, there's men, wood elves, you've got some bats, this trebuchet thing, which I think this is a Bretonnian trebuchet, but I guess this is in this lot. Here's like this bolt thrower doohickey. There's the crew for that. You have some orcs here, some guys still on sprue. We have some blisters. And let's see, Halder, Arwen, Eladan, Arathorn, and you also get some kits. We have some Warriors of Harad, Mordor Orcs, Uruk-hai, Wood Elves, and this Tree Man. So check the liner notes for pricing and email us for details if you want to pick them up. This is only going to be up for a very short time. Otherwise, we are going to take pictures and put it in the scrapyard.